Okay.
Great, recording, all good.
Okay. So, but let's then go straight to it and
Oh,
make the most of the time. So, Liam, again, thank you very much for participating. Maybe to begin with, could you introduce yourself and your background?
sure. So I'm Liam. I'm the head of brand and marketing at My Muscle Chef. So what is My Muscle Chef? My Muscle Chef is a company that started 9 years ago. So we're celebrating our 9th birthday this month. And we started as a $0 company 9 years ago, and we're now a company which has, well, we've grown, let's put it this way, 7 to 8 times our run rate in the last 3 years, and we're now well over, well, we're going to be over a $200 million company this year. So that gives you a sense of our growth.
Yeah.
To the reason I joined My Muscle Chef and why it was so interesting is so I joined My Muscle Chef from agency. So I spent most of the last 8-9 years in media and communications agencies in the US, the UK, and then Australia. And before that, I was a corporate lawyer. So I was a lawyer in intellectual property law in the UK, and I was also a recruiter for a short time. So the reason I joined My Muscle Chef was really simple. I wanted to work for a business which I believed in the purpose, which is around nutrition and ultimately health, because at the end of the day, there's a crisis in health globally, not just in Australia. 65% of Australians aged over 35 are overweight, and a significant portion of them are obese. And people have a really poor understanding of nutrition. And in our modern age, where we have less time than ever, our physical bodies suffer along with our mental health as well. And what was really interesting for me was joining My Muscle Chef at this stage of their journey. They're moving to a place where it's not just about talking about how the food we eat delivers on the physical outcomes. We're moving to a place where we're talking about how our nutrition that we provide helps people with their mental health. It helps people bring their whole selves to work. It helps them have the right emotional strength, not just physical strength. And so moving them from essentially from a narrower audience base to a more mass audience base and making it taking it into its next stage of growth was an amazing opportunity. That's the reason I joined from agency into my first client side role. And so that's a bit of background on me and how I got to My Muscle Chef.
Yeah. Okay. How come did you go from practicing law to become work or to work with marketing?
Like the best things in life, they are by accident. And the story is my boss. I was working recruitment, so I went from law and I quit midway through my training contract, which no one ever does, but I did. And then I went into recruitment because I didn't know what to do with my life, and I couldn't stomach the pay cut because it was so good as a lawyer. And then I didn't want to work in a cafe, so I went in recruitment because I could earn a lot of money just talking, and that suited me fine. So I did that, and then my boss left to become head of recruitment for a global marketing media consultancy. So she was head of recruitment for IPG, Into Public Group for Europe. And then she just calls me and says, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I was like, "Oh, where are you working?" She's like, "Oh, I work in marketing." I was like, "Ah, sure." And so the next day, the next day, I met the European CEO, and we talked about how the English are pigs. We talked about how French wine was great because he was French and I used to speak French years ago. And he was like literally 40 minutes of wine and talking about how crap England was. He just went, "Great. I'll get you a job," in French, of course. And then that was it. And then the next day I was in front of the MD of the UK office, and literally next day I had a contract, and that was it. Nice. That was 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Never look back. Okay. Yeah, that was a bit about your background, and obviously you already told us a brief story about My Muscle Chef as well. But where is My Muscle Chef today? Now you mentioned this growth journey that you have been on, but sure. Where is My Muscle Chef today?
So where My Muscle Chef today is, we're at a really interesting juncture in our business. So which kind of leads to the conversation about why we engage Blackwood 7 and why it's been of value. So there's two distinctions I'd love to make. So one is the thought of how we create more gains, which are short term, and how we create growth. So gains are about revenue, top line growth, and then the growth is really about profitability, long-term accretive value. So historically, Muscle Chef and the way it's looked at marketing has been the kind of like that gains driver, like short-term results, driving growth. And to be honest with you, lots of our growth has been through retail distribution. We now have 4,500 stockists in Australia. We only started our retail business 3 years ago. Like that is incredible as growth, right? So to give you a sense of that. So we have grown through the real classic things of having a great product, and our product is second to none in the market versus our competitors. It really is. I'm the head of brand and marketing, I'd say that, but I guarantee tastes better, the quality is better, it's fresher, we care. Like, so I can guarantee that. I wouldn't have worked here unless I believe that and know that. Secondly, we've grown through distribution. So classic, like great retail team, getting space in store, which we've proven through Blackbird 7 has a positive impact on online as well, which is great. Retail has a positive impact on online.
Yeah.
So that's been the story. And of course, in the online space, let's be honest, we are in the healthy convenience ready meal category. 9 years ago, that didn't exist in Australia. So we started that category. We have shown retailers and proven that there's an opportunity, and we have grown that category. We absolutely have. And when you are one of the first movers, of course, you get the benefit of all that, right? You get the benefit of that growth. And this, just to give you an example, the search engine auction for advertising 9 years ago, hardly any competition, you know. But now, as in many categories, demand driven by Google and Facebook, who want lots of advertisers on the platform, of course, the prices are going up. So we're now at a stage where we have grown to probably we can try and continue to do the same things we've done historically, and we can probably grow more. But what we really want to do is continue that trajectory in the way that we have in the past. And to do that, we therefore have to start thinking about growth rather than gains. And growth is, okay, where is the profitable opportunity, not just where is the volume opportunity. We can't keep riding that wave up, which is why at this juncture it's been so important to bring people, not just like me, but really beefing up our commercial team, beefing up our category team, beefing up our broader kind of customer service team, and then of course the marketing function. And my juncture and why I'm in the role and why this conversation has been so valuable is because we are bringing in best practice, measurement, process, and systems to focus on the profitable opportunity to enable that growth trajectory to continue.
Yeah, and then maybe just to briefly touch on the profitable opportunity. So you're having, would it be fair to say, two main sales channels, retail and then your own online web shop.
Correct.
And then your focus now is more like driving sales on your own online web shop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think we are an omnichannel retailer. So I would say that we don't care where the sale is in the first instance. Many people buy in retail, and in the research we've done, many people who buy the category buy in retail, and then will buy online sometimes. But our customers love buying online and less in retail.
Okay.
So I think there's probably the category probably splits in two. There's one which is like, convenience, and it's so convenient that I just pick it up at a supermarket when I think about it. And the other who is, I'm so little time, I'm buying it online because that is the convenient option for me, and I do my top up in retail. So I suppose we at the first purchase, we don't, I suppose, care, but of course online is more profitable for us, and so we want to grow online significantly year over year, and make sure we're maximizing profitability. But also we want to make sure that our retail partners, we're only supporting, we have limited resources like everyone. We want to make sure that we are making sure our field sales team and our point of sale and all the other things we could do are focusing on the retail opportunities which are most profitable. So for us, for example, I suppose, really time poor retail locations, so petrol and convenience, for example, or convenience stores, great opportunity there. And in those instances, you can buy our product and heat it up in a microwave sometimes there and then. You can literally buy it, heat it up and eat it all in the convenience store. Like, great opportunity, right? And consumers are used to paying a premium for that. So it's a really nice opportunity. Increasingly though, Mikkel, our app is becoming super important. So we're trying, frankly, in ecom now, winning the war of the phone screen and getting your app as a top used app is something that we're desperate to try and do, because when you get that real estate, that is where the power really happens. So the priority is online, with the view to getting the app on the phone, getting on the real estate there. That is the priority.
Yeah. So I guess that was some of the strategy for my muscle chef at the moment. Could you zoom in on marketing's responsibilities in that strategy, maybe?
Sure. So look, I hate to be boring, but the role of marketing at Muscle Chef is probably like the role of marketing at any business, really. And my role is twofold. First is to capture the available demand that's in market based off the buyers that are in market. We are kidding ourselves if we believe that advertising or anything we might do promotionally is going to create more category demand, really, right? So that's how do we capture the maximum available opportunity of people who are in market for our products at a profitable level without just buying growth. So that is my first job. My second job is, how do I create future sales and brand equity? And what I mean by brand equity in real terms, how do I create more people buying our product again and again and again, that latent brand strength, and making sure that we are top of mind when people think about the category? And that they're the two roles of marketing. It's future sales and immediate sales. And the skill is balancing those two and dialing it up and down depending on the business conditions at the time and the strategic initiatives that are the most important. So it's as simple as that. I've got those two roles, and then the real things that I'm focused on are, how do we measure the short and the long term, because they're different. And how do we make sure that we are, when we invest $1, we are not just measuring it on the short and long term, but that we are getting an unfair share of return in the short and long term. And how do you do that? Creativity. Getting a healthy level of targeting, but not too much targeting, because getting too targeted is ineffective. And thirdly, making sure that we've got that user experience which can capture that and then convert. That's my job in a nutshell.
Okay, and then so if we look at how marketing is measured in my Muscle Chef, or I mean the KPIs and stuff, you have. Can you put a few words to that?
Oh, 100%. So we have a what I believe is a best-in-class measurement framework. So we have a 5-pillar measurement framework at Muscle Chef, and it looks essentially, it goes from short term, which starts with attribution and our method of attribution, and it goes all the way to long term, which is our brand health and distinctive assets tracker. And then in the middle, we have squarely our econometric or market mix model, of course, which Blackwood 7 have helped us with, which looks at how are we creating and capturing, I should say, demand in the short term, which is within that month period, essentially. So when we spend $1 on week 1, how much are we getting from that within, let's say, a month period of that first day that we spend it? So that's in the middle of that measurement framework. And then on top of that, we have things like we track our share of voice and share of search, which we know is a long-term indicator of market share. So that's the measurement framework goes from short to long, and then the market mix model is right in the middle, which is like short, a little bit of medium term. And we have various tools and technologies which help us track that over time.
Okay, so main objectives or metrics. I mean, are there any specific numbers that you're looking at?
Sure,
every
100%.
month?
Oh, so many. So the first one is what is so ROAS, so return on ad spend in top line revenue terms. So we have a baseline of that. Another one is customer lifetime value. So we believe in the thinking of Peter Fader, who is a really excellent academic, who's really the godfather of lifetime value. And we are trying to maximize customer lifetime value. And the higher number we can get, the better. And what we've seen pleasingly is, even though we've grown exponentially, like literally 30% year over year for many years, our customer lifetime value keeps growing, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So when we acquire customers, they love us and they keep buying from us. So how do we keep doing that? And really what we're trying to achieve is therefore, how do we get more A-grade customers? So how do we convert B-grade customers to A-grade customers? And how do we not focus on the C and D grade? Because if they're a D grade, they're never going to be an A grade. But we want A's to be A pluses and we want B's to become A's. So that's some of the numbers and the things we look at. And then the other one, which we're increasingly starting to look at, is using gross margin, is what is profit accretive. So using return on investment in the classic sense against profit. So going, we spend this much in investment, how many units, what's the growth margin, what's the profit result in the short, medium, and long term. So there's some of the numbers we care about. Of course, there's vanity metrics like engagement rate, CPC, but one of the biggest problems with marketing at the moment is marketeers are obsessed with that, and boards and CFOs do not care. Yeah. So it is about getting upstream and going, marketing is like any other investment. Marketing is, you can say, I want to spend $1 million on marketing, or I want to spend $1 million on a new IT system. And the new IT system is going to reduce the time. It's going to improve our working capital, let's say, and it's going to give us an extra 50K cash flow across 12 months. Or I can spend $1 million in marketing, which is going to deliver these short-term sales and these future sales. And then it becomes, okay, well, what's your time horizon? What's the cost of money? What are the cash flows? What are the other opportunity costs? That's what I'm interested in. And that's the conversation we're now having.
That makes a lot of sense. So if we zoom in on the business challenges that my muscle chef was facing, or maybe still are, did you have any specific challenges that you identified
sure.
upon arriving?
So the first one is because we were really the first to start the category, we have an enormous amount of Me Too competitors, loads. And some of them try and look identical to us. Like they literally have a black. You must have seen it. You must have Googled our product before the interview, but a black tray, you know, that's really hard because then at shelf, it looks kind of similar. And let's be real, like not customers, millions of customers don't even know who we are. So then of course, looks about right, like, you know, they'll buy it. So that's the first one. The second one is, again, with competitors, we have so many what I would call Q competitors. And what I mean by that is, it depends on the category which you're competing in. So our immediate category is people like who have ready meals, right? Who you can order online. Cool. But then you've got a broader competitive set. So I don't know in Denmark, which I'm assuming you're both in Denmark. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know whether you have HelloFresh there, which is a big German company, which is like you order the meals which you then cook and prepare.
Yeah.
In many instances, that's also a competitor. Why? Because you're thinking, I need to plan ahead for my food and I want something convenient. So I'll buy that, you know, and that is potentially a competitor for us. But then we also have broader competitors, which are Uber Eats, Just Eat's Menulog, Deliveroo, because again, that is absolutely our competitor because I want something quick and convenient to eat. So guess what? That's our competitor. So that's challenging because when you think about that, we're being outspent significantly, and therefore the challenge becomes how do we become distinctive in all of our brand assets and touch points, because we need to cut through talking about what I said earlier. How do I sweat that $1 and get an unfair share of return? Creativity is important. Distinctive assets important is to do that. So that is what we're trying to do to combat competition. And then the other one, Victoria, is broadly speaking, supply chain. And we are a manufacturing business, right?
Yeah.
And so we are being hit hard by supply chain issues and cost, labor, other inflationary material costs. So that's hard because it has a flow-on effect to so much of our business. So that is important because it creates more scrutiny on the return and the time horizon and the way in which we can talk about payback. So that's a massive challenge. And I think thirdly,
what about I was also thinking about challenges in your marketing measurement setup. If you had any challenges in that area,
which is the third one, which is tying everything back because of that pressure is really important. And because we're an online brand, we have a good and a young online brand, we have good infrastructure on technology. So We have some really good systems that you can pull data from in various ways because we were built in the digital age, right? Like 9 years ago, it was still pretty developed. And so we've got what I believe best of breed marketing tech infrastructure to help us understand that. However, we don't have necessarily the best attribution model because, like many brands, we just don't. And so we're reliant on quite a rudimentary form of attribution, which we're fixing. But as we want to grow and grow demand, because that's what we need to start to do, we need to invest in more mass channels to do that, right? And so how do you measure that? Because trying to measure mass and on a digital attribution business is pretty hard. And especially when you consider the exponential growth that we've been having, how do you unpick those factors? And so if we're going to take that business on the journey of appealing to more audiences, as I talked about, being known to more people, we need to think about those mass channels and how to make them accountable outside of just, oh, well, your online sales didn't go up, so the campaign failed. So that's one of the biggest measurement challenges. And related to that, we need objectivity about making decisions. So in the environment I work in, we can go, what's the experiment? We think we're going to improve conversion rate by 2 points. This is the data. Apply the experiment and do it. When we start talking about other stuff, it comes really hard. So how do we create objective data, which gives us a baseline? So then we can execute, measure, and see where we landed.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's sort of in what you just said, but what led my muscle chef to look for or demand this or a more sophisticated marketing measurement model or capabilities?
It was the need for that objectivity. We needed to have an objective source of truth for what worked, which was independent, and something that we could ensure our broader shareholders and board would have faith in. And so then we could use it to budget effectively and talk about the opportunity rather than budget being set on simple ratios. So having a marketing budget set on, let's say, performance media, Mikkel, is bad because we know there's huge inflation in performance channels. And so just assuming the same year over year, we're already behind. So it's having objectivity in that to know, therefore, what can be feasible and what can be effective. So objectivity, in particular, around budgeting, and finally, a view of what worked in mass channels, like above the line, out of home, with comparison to online. They were the reasons.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like also, having some trustworthy system that you really believed in.
Critical.
Yeah. Do you know how you went about shortlisting potential vendors?
Yes, I did a very robust tender process. It was the first thing I did in my role. I've been brought up knowing the importance of this. When I was in London, I went to all of the IPA seminars. I did all the qualifications when I was there. I had to with my role. So I was brought up that econometrics and market mix modeling is the gold standard of how you wish to be a marketer. So when I became a client, it was the first thing, literally one of the first things I did was to start a tender process for this because it was so important. And I knew the value, and I saw firsthand the chaos and the carnage it created when clients couldn't articulate the incremental value that their function was delivering. It was just a nightmare. So I didn't want to be that type of client. So I went through, we had a robust tender process where we benchmarked multiple providers, of which Blackwood 7 were on. We benchmarked them on criteria such as capability and track record, things like how easy the software was it software as a service, was it not? Data security, which is critical given that most of our business is first-party data driven as well. And then other things like ongoing support and the more softer, tangible parts of a relationship. So that they were some of the criteria, and it was the tender process was a couple of maybe 2 months of various meetings and follow-ups, and I suppose within that, what was really interesting was understanding the point of view from the various companies who submitted on what to model and the methodology, that's in a KPI and methodology and the pros and cons. And that was a very revealing exercise in in whether you're just being sold something or whether there's real passion and expertise for the product and the process, and real understanding of what you're trying to achieve.
Okay. Any of these criteria that are the most important criteria for you, or I know it's a mix, but
Sure.
if you had to pinpoint something?
Yeah, there's probably, so I'd say if 3 were most important. So the first one was track record and capability is key. And the reason I say that is that this is about stakeholder education. So the more clients that have used it in the more in really competitive and or similar categories is pretty important to know that, right? Secondly, really engaging with our business problem and putting together a model that answered our question, not just the available model. So being consultative in that process. And thirdly, I think the reality is there were various pricing models, but the thing that mattered for us was it flexible? Was it on demand as a platform for us so we could use it? And that was key because we're a digital business really, and so we wanted something that matched that because we want to be able to play with it, have access, and really understand it, not have a lag in when we ask for things. So they are probably my 3 criteria that were really important for us.
Okay, yeah. And then zooming in on Blackwood 7, what was your main reason for ending up selecting Blackwood 7?
It was objective. They scored the highest on those. We had a scorecard, and it was you scored the highest out of all the providers. And it wasn't pricing was a factor, but at the end of the day, it was we were willing to pay for an output, and we wanted to see value in the output because it's so important. So it was simply on the scorecard, you guys were the highest. And I also felt that there was you genuinely listened to, and there was a consultative sales process. And I mean, and people say that all the time, but it's just not. I used to sell to clients every single day, so I can smell a sales process. But so it felt like it just felt better. I could feel there was care and there was actually engaging with our business problem. And some of the other vendors, it just felt like it was just a sales pitch. And I was like, I'm not interested. So that was a factor.
Okay, great. And I think we have touched upon also when you mentioned the criteria, what you were looking for in a solution. But when thinking of a solution in this area within marketing measurement, what are the most important features for you and why?
Sure. I think it is that on-demand availability, so being able to use the tool and ourselves and produce scenarios and optimizations of it. I also think it's secondly that the aftercare support, like you do the model, we train us on the platform, but there's such value in being able to bounce back. Hey, these are things we're thinking, and that. So I found that really good with Blackwood 7. It hasn't just been like we deliver it and we never hear from us again. I think that's really good because this is about embedding for us a change culturally in the way we think about marketing and investments, which is an ongoing education. So I think that's really good. And of course, of benefit to Blackwood 7 because if they get it right and you guys get it right, our board is one of the largest private equity firms in the world. And if they see the value of this, that's another like 20 companies that could benefit from this. So there's opportunity there and upside for Blackwood 7, but regardless of that, it's clearly part of the service model. And I think thirdly, I liked that it was modular, like it could be scaled up and down. That was great. Like it was just that was really helpful because it felt perceptually there was a transparency. It was modular, whereas others weren't as powerful when looked on that basis.
Okay, so if you think about our modeling setup, have you been introduced to any capabilities or features that you didn't know?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask on that because I'm very, very attuned to market mix modeling because I've been across it for my whole career really in advertising. So all of the functionality I was expecting because I've been very across it. So I haven't seen anything.
maybe to rephrase, were there any capabilities or features that you didn't think you would need as much as you maybe have?
No. I think I spend most of my time in the predictions because, of course, I'm trying to fight a different battle. The only thing which I think because of the stakeholders that are using it, each person finds a different use for it. So that's been interesting. So I don't think so, Nicole.
Okay. Yeah. Then another interesting question, at least from our end, is how would you, in your own word, describe our solution?
Just one word.
It could be words.
Look, I think the solution was, I believe it was excellent. Excellent. It delivered on our needs, and it continues to deliver on our needs. And it is changed. Importantly, it is and has changed the way we speak about and talk about the value of marketing at My Muscle Chef, which at the end of the day is the outcome we wanted, right? Yeah. We can have debates, and we certainly are having debates on that internally but that's good. We're having a debate. We've got data and robust data, and that's something we never would have been able to do before. So that is powerful and a measure of success.
Yeah, great. Was it difficult to design and set up the model that your business needed?
Every data onboarding process is hard. Like I think what Jen and Tom said, actually, you guys were pretty good. We were pretty efficient in that. But I mean, oh my God, like any data collection process is just painful. Let's be honest, so painful. Yeah. So I think that, of course, is the hardest part. But like we had a weekly huddle, we went through it. You guys were always available. Like we had solutions where we could. Like I think it was the best we could be, but it's always going to be a painful experience. Yeah. Like I don't think there's any even API, like the API integration's great, but you still need to check it. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about the scoping of the model itself? I mean, prior to the implementation process, was it difficult to find the right KPI or objective for the model? Or
no, I think we just wanted we wanted everything, but we have to make some decisions. So I think we made the right decision. But off the back of it, for instance, we did a KPI on total online sales, new customers, and repeat customers. We are interested in Maggie's that's just sent me a note. We're interested in looking at a specific new customer model. Yeah. But this is the same limitation of any model. So that isn't unique to Blackwood 7. So
no. Okay. Well, what about what was the initial reaction to introducing this model in the organization and the marketing team?
My boss wrote like 20 pages of notes in the model presentation, and he was very excited. Like it was like palpable, the excitement. So and everyone was like, "Oh wow! Like this is like changing the game," which is exactly what you want, right? Yeah. So it very well received. I use it all the time. The senior marketing manager uses it all the time. My boss uses it. Like we're talking about it to us. We only had a presentation yesterday where I used the model to talk to our CFO. We forecasted some scenarios. You couldn't. Like, what more could you ask for from a tool like that, really? Yeah. So the real proof in the pudding will be comparing the model outputs versus actuals. So yeah. And I think the real interesting part is, Mikkel. So we've got what our performance media tells us that we drive, which is of course an attribution mess, but it tells us. We've got what the model tells us media drives. And then we've got our total sales, right? And what the business sales are. So the model can't forecast forward the base sales. It can only forecast forward the media. So there's always going to be a gap, but it's how we demonstrate that it's pretty close, because the business wants to believe it and it's statistically robust. Like the team wouldn't have presented it if it was, right? So it's just that ongoing education now.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. What about how do you find Blackwood 7's solution compared to other solutions you have seen or have experience with?
Look, obviously I thought it was strong and one of the best ones that I'd seen in market. What I will say is that there is enormous competition in this space. So one competitor who cards on the table. So I'm chatting to them next week because I know them through a colleague. They're doing something really interesting. They're called Mutiny. I don't know whether you've heard of them, but they're one which is like causing a lot of storm here. So I'm interested to see what they've got to say. Look, I thought Blackwood 7 was market leading in the space. Of course, that's why we appointed Blackwood 7. But it's an interesting space, and I think clients are waking up to the need for this. So it's going to be great. It then becomes a conversation for you guys on justifying the value and the return, which is then an interesting, conversation. Yeah.
So since implementation of the model, how has it helped you so far?
It has helped me from day one. Like I've been able to quantify what was previously unquantifiable. And we've been able to then secondly optimize our future media buys to focus on the things that are going to drive the highest revenue and therefore incremental profit. And we're now using it to inform our FY23 budgeting process. So we're not just budgeting based off an advertising to sales ratio. We're advertising based off what we can drive incrementally, which is incredible. It's exactly what we wanted. So
nice. Are there any specific insights that you have been using more than others?
Yes, just the headline ones, really. Marketing is not a discretionary cost. If you turned off marketing and paid media, X% of sales would not exist. Fact.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Fact. Like I can't. There's no. I think it's just. I keep saying it just to remind everyone.
Yeah. That's a good one. So what if you look at the early results, what are you most happy with so far?
Early results of the
model or use of the model.
Early results, I think we've got good adoption within the marketing and broader team, and we've got good conversations about the implications. Therefore, it's not just sitting on a shelf gathering dust. It's actionable and useful, which again is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's a bit early to say, but have the model saved you money or maybe increased productivity at this stage?
Look. I've had to. There's been some budget cuts because we've had to because of operational pressures. So I suppose it's saved money in that regard because I've known what to cut. We're being cynical. I think. Look, it is. I can't quantify. Hey, because of this, we have therefore done this. What will be interesting though is when we take the full actions from the model, because it's informing our media mix for the new financial year. We could say, this is the model's media mix, what we should do. Imagine if we didn't have it and we had gone with the old channel mix, what money would we have left on the table? So that is probably a bit too soon to tell on that.
Yeah. What about, so I know you have been using the model, as you just said, in the planning and budgeting process, and also when you had to cut down, figuring out where. So how have you used the model setup in this entire budgeting process?
Sure. So that we've used it to talk about the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So we've gone, I can drive a really efficient ROI looking at media on revenue, which is what the model is calibrated to.
Yeah.
But when you start to overlay things like I can drive, what was if I was able to drive 2.5 times the volume at a slightly reduced ROI? It's not as efficient, but I'm delivering more volume. So what do you want? Do you want the more efficient outcome or do you want the volume? So that is really powerful because budgeting that way is we're budgeting for, as remember I talked about earlier, ROI is about gains. It's about short term. It's about efficiency. Or we're budgeting for growth, which is about efficiency within a corridor, but we're willing to be less efficient if we're still driving good volume. So that is one of the biggest implications.
Okay, interesting. I guess you haven't been able to see any metrics based on investments out of the solution yet, right?
Or what do you mean?
What I was actually thinking of was if you had any sort of KPIs and numbers that you could see had improved or changed.
Again, I mean, we haven't had an update yet, so we haven't had the refit or the update. So what we want to do in the update and the refit, it will cover a significant period of spend, and then what we can do is we can look at the baseline that was in the previous period in the model versus the current period, and then all that work we did on our branding, our campaigns, we're able to go look at the difference in the incrementality. So that's what we're trying to do, but that hasn't happened yet because we've got we're waiting on some data before we do the update and the refit.
Yeah.
So okay. Not yet, but soon. But if you want me to say a headline stat, I can say one for you, Mikkel, for your case study. That's fine.
I would like that.
Okay. Well, you could just ask. Look, I think definitely I can say this. Because of the model and the optimizations we're running, we have been able to optimize our future media mix to absolutely probably improve our return on investment to incremental revenue by at least 20%, because we're looking. So it's gone from like, otherwise we would have been at like $3. We're now absolutely about 3.5 or 4, given that the model and helping us. So at least that delta.
That's very impressive and a nice statement. Thank you. And maybe to follow in the same track, what have you been most impressed with so far with the solution?
It is, again, I think it's there is a simplicity to the solution, which is nice. I think there is the ongoing support. I didn't feel like it was just like, deliver it and we'll never hear from us again. And it's immediately actionable. And the other thing I mentioned, it's modular. So, it was priced and structured in a way that it was easy to get and therefore do. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any future plans for the use of the model setup? Or
Yes, we obviously want to do another one, a new customer model, and then seeing how that goes. It'd be then interesting to potentially do. It depends. Again, we'd have a long, maybe even a brand one over the top. But let's see. So let's see.
And when you have your model set up, then, as you said, to begin with, you have one model making it possible to measure online sales for all customers, and then you get some answers. But when you get those answers, how does that kind of make you curious and want to know?
Makes you hungry for more, hungry for more answers. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But for us, it's not just about answers; it's also about actionability. So, for instance, we were considering a retail model, right? But then we were like, actually, it's not going to tell us really a lot that we don't already know, and how actionable is it going to be? Therefore, let's do the new customer one online. So, it's answers and actionability.
Yeah. Okay. So, how has it kind of changed your marketing department to be able to work like this with predictions and accurate insights?
Oh, let's put it this way. It makes us positioned to be what I believe to be a really best practice marketing function, and it's helping elevate the value of what we do in the business. So that's all I could hope for, and to bring a level of commercial acumen to the team, because the team at the end of the day are the people who really make the magic happen, and it's my job to give them the tools and the support to help make the better decisions. And it gives me some extra decisioning power on budget and things. So so it's really good.
Has it actually, or has it changed the marketing's role in the organization, or how it's?
We're getting there. It's I'm only 7 months in, so that's pretty good in the first 6 months to have done a market mix model and developed a measurement framework which the business has bought into. I think it's pretty good in 7 months.
Definitely. Have you been able to make your CFO smile?
I make him laugh. I don't know about smile.
I guess that's the best one to look for with the CFO.
Well, no, it's good. It's good. Yesterday, for example, he said we did some scenarios and other things. He was like, I was like, okay, I said to him, before we have an argument about what we're now going to do you understand the methodology and how we've gotten there? And you don't dispute how we've gotten there and what it's telling us. And he was like, no. I'm like, great, we can now have the argument.
It's
so great. I'm like, win. Like, and the conversation was, do we invest X amount? Literally, this was the conversation. Do we invest X amount in incremental in media, or do we take that budget back and put it to the bottom line for profit? Good conversation. Good conversation. Yeah.
It really is. I know we have touched upon it, but how has it changed the way you have these strategic discussions to be able to have insights out of the model?
It's given me quantification to help make strategic decisions. So we're basing it on data, not assumption, and not just experience. I think it's also kind of just raised the awareness in the business on the need to measure not just the short-term things, but also think about the broader drivers of sales and implications of our sales mix, like economic and macro factors, and making that a lot more visible in the budgeting process, which is only valuable, right? So
okay, great. All the non-media drivers, is that something that you have been looking into and
a lot,
using?
Especially COVID, because for us, when COVID first happened, we saw a huge spike, right, in 2020. Then it kind of normalized, and the model was able to show that actually over the total period of like 2.5, 3 years, the COVID impact was negligible for us.
Okay.
So it's interesting. So, yes, in the first year, it was really positive. When we had the second year and people went in lockdown again, it was like negative overall. Cancelled it itself out. Fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And then maybe sort of a corny question, but would it have been possible to do this without Blackwood 7's solution?
No, absolutely not. No, we would be miles behind without this solution.
Okay. And then just to kind of conclude, then a few questions around the future. And maybe if we zoom a bit out again. So as a marketing professional, what general marketing challenges do you see in the current environment?
Oh, man. Oh, well, this is a long conversation. Oh, man. There's so many. Look, I'll just give you two. We are having as an industry, we are a very young industry. Marketing has only been around in its current form for about 100 years, right? If you compare other professions that have been around for 100 years, so medicine, lawyers, accountants, if I was a doctor and medicine had only been around 100 years, I would be advocating bloodletting, exorcism, and other strange arcane things to make you feel better. So that what I'm trying to say there is that we are so young as a profession, and we are so anxious and so uncertain of our value in the corporate world. And so that is a massive problem in our industry, which leads us to measuring the wrong things, chasing what we believe is the right answer, because we aren't equipped to have a more strategic, quantified conversation. So things like Blackwood 7 helps us have some confidence in what we do as a profession, and helps us have a seat at the table to make decisions rather than being handed a decision. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, there is a massive, if you want to work in marketing, you're essentially saying, I'm a narcissist, I love pain, because there is such a convergence of skills and technology that for some, like, it is mad. Like, marketing is now the nexus of IT, marketing in its purest form, everything to do with the customer. Like, it's remarkable, like the skill set. And then let's not forget technology, data, marketing, tech, and everything else. Like, the skill set required to be a marketer now is beyond the remit of one person. So there is a need for a broader culture of, I suppose, just reality on the audiences that we're trying to serve, but also deep technical knowledge. And so that fragmentation of what the skill set is, because no one person can have it all, then creates issues, because you have certain marketeers that are of one breed who believe one thing, certain marketers who are one breed another, because it's impossible to have all the skill sets. So what that means is you need structural change in business, where actually you have customer officers or growth officers who own the touch points which touch the customer versus the touch points which drive the product, but then you create different silos. So there's a big structural conversation, and that creates different pain points about what's the priority, and why and when. So they're the two, the very, very top level, they're the two big issues that we face as a profession.
Very interesting. And then if we look at my muscle chef, so what visions do you have for marketing in my muscle chef, and
what ambitions? Is that what you said?
No, I said visions, but ambitions. Almost.
Did you say vision or ambition? Sorry, vision.
Vision.
As in, like, what I'm imagining. Vision.
Yeah.
I want us to be the most effective marketing team in Australia. I want us to prove that we deliver enormous incremental profit and revenue to the business, and I would love us to be recognized with an Effie for that one day, which is the gold standard in effectiveness. It's not navel gazing, it proves that we've driven value. And I also want us to have fun, and I want us to have fun on the way, and really listen to what our customers want, and only through that are we going to do it. That's my vision.
Great. And then finally, a bit back to the model. Could you describe the ideal model setup for my muscle chef?
Oh gosh, a model which looks at short-term revenue for online, split by new customers and existing customers, and then together, and then one model which looks at long-term future revenue, which you're able to generate from your short-term investments, and quantifying that over time, split out by short brand media and non-brand media. So that sounds expensive, right? Is that where you go? Great. We'll refer you back to this.
No problem. Just when you say long-term sales, is that kind of brand strength you would be referring to?
Yeah,
or?
So that's like base sales, Mikkel. So like, how can I prove that $1 spent today not only delivers immediate sales, but improves our base sales over time?
Yeah,
which is a big question.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Leah.
Was that what you wanted? Was that helpful?
That was really very helpful. Yeah, and I'm sure we have a lot of great statements and one-liners during this.
I'm full of them. I'm full of them. There's so many. So, you should. There's a lot. I've had a lot of trade press recently, so it's really funny. One of the articles it's a massive industry publication here, and it's gone gangbusters. Like, it is the number one article they've had this year.
Okay.
And it's only behind the Chief Marketing Officer of Australia Post, talking about equality in the workplace around women. I was like, of course, that's hugely important. That needs to be number one. But the editor, I had lunch with the editor, and he was like, Liam, like, I've never seen such an honest and vulnerable piece. I'm like, I can't help it. Like, I'll just tell you what I think. Like, it's so honest. So I'm very honest and very direct. So plenty of one-liners, I can assure you.
Yeah, but that's great. And if you have Any one-liners you want to get out with? This would be the last
Well,
chance.
I think you've got plenty. I think you've got plenty. But look, thank you for the opportunity. Let me know, when you distilled it, what the case study looks like, and then let's chat with Phil about CMO magazine. They already interviewed me this year as well for something else. So I know them anyway. So let's see what Phil wants to do on that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great, but thanks a lot. Yeah, and then we'll be in touch when we have something, and then let's continue the dialogue regarding the article and then a potential video.
And I've got plenty of headshots and stuff if you need them as well. So just once you put a draft together, I can send you plenty of headshots and stuff to choose from and other things if you want.
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be really nice and helpful. And if you could do it just already now, that would be really great. Then you have.
I've got plenty. I'll send you a few. You can pick.
Yeah, nice. but thanks. That would be great. But perfect. Have a nice Friday evening.
And I'm so sorry for getting you up early. But happy Friday.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy Friday.
Take care. Nice meeting you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, so good.